We're going to start off proceedings with the recitation from the Holy Quran. I'm going to call upon Hafiz Muhammad Hussain to do the Qiraat. Hafiz sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك عسى أن يبعثك ربك مقاما محمودا وقل رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا وننزل من القرآن ما هو شفاء ورحمة للمؤمنين ولا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارا وإذا أنعمنا على الإنسان أعرض ونأى بجانبه وإذا مسه الشر كان يئوسا قل كل يعمل على شاكلته فربكم أعلم بمن هو أهدى سبيلا صدق الله العظيم.
Shukran Muhammad. What a wonderful recitation. He has been reciting Quran for us for many years now, and I feel every time we listen to him, our appreciation and his recitation increases in value. Jazakallah Hafsa. Members of the Board of Governors, our guest of honor, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, Executive Headmaster, members of the management, parents, well-wishers, and dear learners. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. They say that the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. Some food for thought. To turn mirrors into windows. The results have been released and everybody is rushing to get hold of newspapers and so on, and they have it, and the word is bandied around. Orient has a great result, remarkable result, outstanding. Everybody is excited. But I feel that is a bit, what we are experiencing then is a bit dead. We are taking a page, we are taking a screen of a phone, and we are looking at numbers. We are looking at symbols, we are looking at names. There's no emotion involved. Oh, we understand what is happening. We know that those symbols mean something and what doors it's going to open for us. But at that moment in time, we don't realize that the symbols that we are looking at are actually people. They have behind them a hearty, hale, young person who wants to do well, who's got hopes, who's got dreams, who's got aspirations. All that is hidden in this symbol distribution, and we go and we look at the symbols and we see that. We don't realize the hard work that has gone in, the amount of sweat that has been shed for that particular symbol. If I take a subject like physical science and a learner gets 92%, what does the 92% mean? It means so much. Does it indicate to us how many hours he spent in the classroom, how many hours he spent with the tuition classes, how many hours he spent in the vacation classes, how much of work was actually done in the subject? Does it indicate to us the cold winter weather, the waking up early, the sleeping late, all the problems of traffic and coming to school and getting the job done and having the homework ready, having assessments in time? It is a whole range of things that has been built into that one symbol. COVID comes in there. lockdown comes in there, extra, what do you call these, online classes were there. All of these is indicated in that 92%, but it is not indicated. We don't ever see it when we read the results. So that is why today we are showcasing not the numbers, but the people behind the numbers. So we are calling you forward, we're putting the numbers behind us, and we are seeing the people that have produced these results. We must not forget that in these are important players in our life, but we also have the parents, we have the educators, we have tutors, we have board of governors, we have many people in the school who are making the system work for that child to achieve that result, and we want to say Jazakallah to all of them. I also take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming, taking this time off to be with us for this very, very important event in our school calendar. National Senior Certificate Award Ceremony 2022. Welcome. Before we start with our proceedings, there are a few notes I need to make. The first one, it is a tradition in Orient School that the Board of Governors have decided to award the top learners a cash award for each distinction received, as well as for every distinction aggregate. So we say Jazakallah to the Board of Governors for this magnanimous gesture. This event is being, as you can see, is recorded, and photographs will be taken of the awardees as you're coming up. If you don't want your photograph to be taken, please indicate to the photographer your wishes. Lastly, we would appreciate it if all of you say MashaAllah when the candidate comes up to receive the award. Clapping is honoring the recipient, there's no doubt about that. But more important than that is making the dua to the being that gives us honor. Without his permission, there is no honor. To say MashaAllah. Our guest speaker is Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, who is a international icon in the field of humanitarian and emergency relief. Our intention in calling him to address you is that we would like someone to go into the field of humanitarian relief, welfare work, and finding ways of many of our Muslims all over the world. I call upon Professor Shahida Qasim to give you a full introduction to our guest speaker.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Program Director, our honored guest of honor for this afternoon, members of the board, particularly of the academic committee, academic staff, administrative staff, parents and students, I greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed my honor to say a few words to you today, a time that marks your transition from one chapter of your life to another. It is a time that I think, firstly, that congratulations are in order. So I want to congratulate each and every one of you for having reached this rite of passage, this kind of new beginning in your life. Students, I know that you have spent a great deal of effort in getting to this phase, and that takes an inordinate amount of dedication. And I really want to congratulate you for this. Parents, I know that you have spent countless hours supporting your young children, equipping them with the right mindset to get to this kind of crossing line. Teachers, I don't think you are appreciated enough. I think you are an absolutely invaluable asset to society as you mold and nurture each one of the students that come into your care, whether it is for the year, but I know with our teachers for a lifetime. And I think all of the supporters, like members of the board and other well-wishers, need congratulations to bring our school to this point. As I contemplate your journeys over the past 5 years, we really have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for bringing us to this particular point and bringing you to this particular point. I think that the past 5 years have been amongst the most challenging in your short lives, but in our long ones too. I think in history. If we just think about, kind of common phrase that is used as I address corporates quite a lot, is where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And I think you will encounter this as you get to university and as you get to the world of work. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? 5 years ago, people who asked that question have just been proved wrong. As we encountered this pandemic that changed our lives completely, and as I contemplated what I would say to you today, I thought about just how we developed a deep understanding of how fragile our systems were. We saw a near complete breakdown in our health system, and I think our honored guest will bear testimony to that. We understood how fragile it was. We saw a breakdown in our social systems, and we understood how inadequate we were in kind of dealing and in navigating the kind of crisis, the world crisis that we found ourselves in. And of course, we found our economic systems near broken. And I could spend a whole day talking about this, as I understood deeply how this one event impacted the lives of small and medium enterprises throughout and across the globe. So it's been a real calamity, an event that has really defined us in ways. And of course, when you think about that, there are two approaches that you can take to any big disruptive event in your life. One is to focus on the negative and to think about, well, to confront the facts, which we need to do in any case, but to think about those negative elements, and that can lead to a cycle of despair, despondency, hopelessness, and helplessness. On the other hand, we can confront the facts, understand our weaknesses, develop a positive mindset, and move on. And indeed, this pandemic has shown us some of the most innovative thinking in history. As I have an abiding interest in innovation, particularly from a small business perspective, I think about some of those great inventions, not all of them costly, some of them at very low cost, using very little resources, but making huge changes in people's lives. From the likes of A1 deliveries, artificial intelligence used to deliver groceries and medical aid to people in far-flung areas. Online learning, something that you yourself experienced. And I must share that we, in those early years of the pandemic, had to very quickly think about how to equip our teachers with the kind of skills to move from on-site learning, from person-to-person contact, to online learning, and we managed to do so. So and smart learning platforms were really just innovations that resulted out of this invention, which was necessitated at the time. And of course, a whole lot of them, low-cost ventilators, video conferencing, which is another one of those. Robot waiters that I read about, which are just kind of amazing in medical care facilities, and the list can go on. In all of this time, there has been a lot of research in looking at what are the critical ingredients that make people survive calamities. And this research has built on past research, looking at natural disasters or man-made disasters and wars. And the one characteristic trait that keeps coming up is one that you are likely to hear about quite a lot in the years as you make this transition from school to university to the world of work. And this is resilience. There has been lots and lots written and said about resilience. And very interestingly, the research on resilience was actually started, teachers, by a mathematics teacher who is trying to understand why some children had the capacity to learn maths in a sustained way over a long period of time. Angela Duckworth did her PhD in, I think, about 2016, and started to develop the concepts that we knew quite long about and popularized it, as a matter of saying, of resilience and grit. Something that you will hear quite a lot about, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about it. With resilience comes a host of others, like a sense of purpose. Who are you? Where are you going? And why are you going there? Is this the best route to take you there? I'm reminded of somebody I listen to quite often, and a friend of Salman Saad was Yawar Beg, and I wrote it down just to remind me. And he said, he expressed a sense of purpose as to do things that add value to others in this life, and at the same time add value to you both in this life and in the akhirah. So these characteristic traits of resilience, of grit, of purpose, of passion are all important traits that will get you into the future. And a whole lot will be said about that in time to come. But someone, in my mind, who epitomizes these characteristic traits and more is none other than our honored guest, who I have the absolute pleasure of introducing today. When someone moves out of his profession to embrace an area of human activity that is like disaster relief, that would make even the bravest one somewhat uncomfortable. Someone who creates an NGO that has impacted the lives of millions of people across more than 41 countries across the globe. Someone who has received accolades, various accolades, not because he was seeking it, because people understood the kind of work he was doing, from honorary doctorates to presidential awards, not only nationally but internationally. Being named amongst the most influential Muslims in the world. And he smiles at me as I say this. A change maker of note. A man who has earned the respect and trust of all who interact with him, to the point that there have been calls for him to assume the leadership of our broken and corrupt country. I, ladies and gentlemen, cannot do justice to the CV of this man who we have here today. So I would like you to listen to him and make that decision for yourself. I call upon Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman.
Sakallah Shaida. I must first say special greeting to Professor Salman Nadwi. We go back a long time. I was talking about you 5 minutes before I came here to somebody in my office, and Allah made it that you are here. His son Samir is also a good friend of mine. My mother was very close to him. A little bit of history, I was in the school. I studied in the school in 1975 in grade 9, but I had to move to Sastry College because we didn't have S7 at that time. And my auntie was also a teacher, Fazila Kara, in the school. Congratulations to all the students who've passed. It doesn't matter. 1A, 5 A's, 6 A's, no A's. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you put your heart and soul in what you do. That's the most critical aspect. It's not important about getting 6 or 7 A's. It's important about being the best in what you do. And having kids, I've got 6 children, and each one of them is different. Some did well, some didn't do so well. But to me, as long as they put their best effort, which is the most critical part of it. The second part is never to forget your parents. The investment that your parents make in you is priceless. And whatever you do in life, Don't ever forget. You may be a great businessman, a professor, an academic, whatever. Don't ever forget the input that your parents did for you. Fortunately, in our community these days, we've lost the values. We've lost the culture. Children dump their parents. Get rid of them. Don't visit them. Don't take care of them. And say that parents are a financial and emotional burden. Remember, what you do to your parents, your kids will do to you. It will come back because they will learn from you. So it's important that your academic learning is of no value if you don't have the lessons of life. I want to share with you my story because all the lessons of life are in that story. It's a awards function. You're not going to do a thesis here and spend all day talking. So I'll do as many things as quickly as possible. I met a spiritual teacher, a Sufi Sheikh, in Turkey, in Istanbul, in 1991. I went back in 92. 6 August 1992, Thursday night, 10 p.m. After a zikr program, the Sheikh picks his head up, makes eye contact with me, and looks heavenwards at the same time. In fluent Turkish, and I don't speak a word of Turkish, but I understood every single word that he said in Turkish. He said, "My son, I'm not asking you, I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name in Arabic will be Waqful Waqifin." The translation is not correct, but somebody gave us a translation, gift of the givers. You will serve all people of all races, all religions, all colors, all classes, all cultures, of any geographical location and of any political affiliation. But you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect nothing in return, not even a thank you. In fact, in what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, expect to get a kick up your back. If you don't get a kick up your back, regard it as a bonus. Serve people with love, kindness, compassion, and mercy. And remember, the dignity of man is foremost. So if someone is down, don't push them down further. Hold them, elevate them, wipe the tear of a grieving child, caress the head of an orphan, say words of good counsel to a widow. These things are free. They don't cost anything. Clothe the naked, feed the hungry, provide water to the thirsty, and in everything that you do, be the best at what you do. Not because of ego, but because you're dealing with human life, human emotion, human dignity, and human suffering. He goes on to say, I was 30 years old that time. This is an instruction for you for the rest of your life. And then he says the most important thing. He said, "My son, don't ever forget that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. Your academic achievement, your success in life, your progress, your prosperity is not because of your cleverness. It's a mercy that Allah has given unto you. Don't ever forget that grace, that blessing that comes from the special being to make you special." I asked the teacher, how come when you speak Turkish, I understand, and when other people speak Turkish, I don't understand? He said, "My son, when the hearts connect and the souls connect, the words become understandable." I told him, I'm a doctor in private practice. I have 3 surgeries in a place called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa. What exactly do you want me to do with all these instructions? He told me one line. You will know. For 30 years, I do know what to do, how to do, what to touch, what not to touch, which way to go, which way not to go. In fact, the moment I walked out of that place on the 6th of August, 1992, it came to me by inspiration, respond to the civil war in Bosnia. Not 5 months later, the same month, August 92, I took in 32 containers of aid into Bosnia. Another 8 containers in November of the same year. And in 93, we designed the world's first containerized mobile hospital. A product of South African technology, South African engineering, built in Africa and taken to Europe, that saved the lives of thousands of people in a war zone. Whatever you do, your learning, your academics, your achievements, don't ever forget to serve people, because people wait for you in hope. The areas we go to, Muslim or non-Muslim, doesn't matter. There's not two separate gods that created a Muslim component and a non-Muslim component. Everybody comes from one Allah, one God. You need to understand that very clearly. The Prophet ﷺ came as rahmatan lil alameen, not rahmatan lil muslimin. He didn't come for the Muslims. He came for all creation. Khairun nas bayan faun nas. Best among people are those who benefit mankind, not Muslim. So whatever you do, you bring people closer to God. We were traveling in King Williamstown. Our green trucks came through the mountain. A lady, a black Christian lady in the rural area, saw the trucks coming. She was standing on crutches, and she picked up her hands and she said, God Almighty, you didn't forget me. You answered my prayer. You send the green people, they call us the green people. You send the green people to come and help me. God, I have faith and trust in you. If your learning can do that, then you've achieved something in life. If your learning can turn people's hearts closer to God, you've achieved something in life. There must be excellence, there must be ethics, there must be professionalism, but above all, there must be compassion. We land in Pakistan, 8 October 2005, that earthquake that wipes out the entire northern province. That knocked out one city. An earthquake knocks out a city. Pakistan, Professor Navid's from the country, wiped out the entire northwest region from Rawalpindi to Muzaffarabad to the Kashmir border. 400 villages sank into the ground. We land there with our teams, medical teams at that point. As we come to Rawalpindi airport, the Pakistan general comes to me and says, do you mind not going to the earthquake? So I asked him, which hospital are you going to give me? He said, you understand? I said, perfectly. So my team said, but why did you come if you can't go to the earthquake? I said, you don't understand. This man is telling you that the hospitals, the schools, the buildings, everything is destroyed. Everything is gone. There's nothing you can do in the mountains. People have died. So I want a hospital to save those that are alive. So I asked him, have you got helicopters? And he says, no. All our helicopters are in important missions. You know that we got all these people that are affected and we need to go to the border. I look around. Thinking on your feet is critical in whatever you guys follow. I look around, and of course there must be no prejudice. I see the American Air Force. Now, Muslims, you've got a problem with America, we know that. But you need to open your mind that every American is not a bad person. Everybody in our government is not corrupt. Every policeman is not a bad policeman. Being judgmental about people is not our job. We need to have an open heart towards people. So I walk across the airport, and I see this big black guy. I tell him, my brother, where are you from? I know where he's from. He's from America. He said, I'm from America. I said, no, you're black. You're not from America. You're originally from Africa. He said, yes, I'm from Africa. So I told my brother, me, I'm from Africa too. We brothers, and we hug. I said, I got a problem. He said, what's your problem? I said, I need to send my teams in the mountain to stabilize the injured people. There's no helicopters. We need to bring them down. We need to save their lives. You want a helicopter? Take 3. In 2 minutes, he gave me 3 helicopters. This is the grace of Allah. The language of the heart that he understood and gave me 3 helicopters, 2 Black Hawks and another helicopter, and we sent the teams into the mountain. The other teams went to the cantonment hospital of Rawalpindi. As we walk in, we get the stench of death, of gangrene, of kids lying on a stretcher, no IV lines, no medicine, no nursing care, no doctors, no family. Everybody's dead, they're gone. And I called in the Pakistan general. I said, what is this? Is this an organized killing field? Will you bring your mother here? So he looks at me, and the CEO of the hospital comes running down. He says, General, we're shutting this hospital down. It's decommissioned. I said, are you guys crazy? Your hospitals are gone in the mountains. You need every hospital you got. How can you shut it down? So the general asked, what must we do? So I said, if I give you the shopping list, will you do what I tell you to do? And I'll show you what we as South Africans can do. So he said, yes. In less than 24 hours, the cantonment hospital of Rawalpindi that was shutting down, a South African medical team that came from schools like yours, that came from preschools like we have in this country, that came from universities that we have in this country, that came from learning in this country, that got training in this country, not in Europe and first world countries. They got the training here in this country. Believe in yourself, believe in your schools, believe in your teachers, believe in your country. The South African medical team converted a hospital that was closing down into a 400-bed emergency hospital in Ramadan. And we did 75 operations a day. And we saved thousands of lives. And from the mountain, they all came down. For that, in 2006, the president of the country then was Pervez Musharraf. He gave us a presidential award for what we as South Africans did for the people of Pakistan. In 2010, 12 January 2010, a massive earthquake hits Haiti. 250,000 people die in 40 seconds. We send our teams across. And first time in our history, we had search and rescue teams. 19 January 2010, we made world history. My teams called me 7 days after the earthquake. My teams called me and they say they can hear sounds in the rubble in the collapsed Catholic church. 3 hours later, they called me. 64-year-old Enazizi was pulled out of the rubble alive in an earthquake in Haiti 7 days after the disaster. It was world history. Never before in the history of the African continent has any team from Africa taken anybody out of the rubble alive in an earthquake outside the African continent. Our teams were the first in the world. Captured in all the world media. The first words the lady said to my team when she came out, she said, I love God Almighty. You instill hope in somebody several thousand kilometers away. It doesn't matter what religion they follow. They remembered one creator. And the second thing she said, I love you. The medical teams followed the search and rescue teams. And they said, the teams from the first world countries said, we can't do this. The machines are not working. The theaters are damaged. Buildings are damaged. And the South African team said, leave this to us. To the credit of the first world teams, the American and the French and others, they came and went all over Port-au-Prince in Haiti and said, if you want survival, if you want healing, if you want help, then go to the dream team. And the dream team is from South Africa. From these schools, from these universities, from these educational institutions and hospitals. We sent another team to the church. They scrubbed the walls and the floors, got on their knees, and then ethics. You see the power of misusing lives. As they were standing there, the children came. Amputation was done earlier, but whoever came to do the amputation practiced. So they did it wrong. So now from the hand was cut, we had to cut the elbow. When the ankle was cut, we had to cut the knee. Imagine somebody's doing that to your child. Whatever you do, police service, politician, scientist, teacher, doctor, if you haven't learned ethics, you've wasted 12 years of learning. As a Muslim, that is our first, and as a human, not only as a Muslim, as a human, our first issue is ethics. That could have happened to your child. My big paramedics, Afrikaner guys, who every day take out people from accidents and open the trucks and the cars, sobbed because hundreds of these kids we had to do. And when we told them, go home afterwards, they told them where? There's no house, no building, no institution, no parents, no grandparents, all the difficulty in the world. This is the challenge people have. There's always somebody worse off than you. Brothers and sisters, I don't want to talk much longer. All I'm saying is that whatever you do, make sure that service of people is your primary aim in whatever profession you do. We've shown it. We've worked together with teams across the world. We've achieved miracles. heartbreaking, and I'll give you the last story. Of course, we've done a lot of stuff in South Africa, but I'll give you the last story of Somalia. The famine of 2011. And there was increased fighting between Al-Shabaab and the Somali Transitional Forces. All the NGOs were leaving the country. People were leaving the country because the fighting was getting so big. But the number of children that were dying were increasing because of famine and drought and no water. We took in a 40-member team. We flew 13 planes into Somalia, and we moved 200 containers of aid into Somalia. When we got there, we just went into a broken building, and we started treating wherever we found. Kids, adults, teenagers walked more than 400 kilometers from the south to come to Mogadishu. When they came to the center, we saw how malnourished they were, how hungry they were, how dehydrated they were. A 7-year-old child was asked, "Where's the rest of your family?" Every family had the same story. "I left my father, my 2-year-old brother, my 5-year-old sister, my 10-year-old relative, cousin. We left them behind." Why? Because they were too hungry and they were too thirsty. We had to make a choice. Either we all stay behind and die, or those who can carry on walking and come to get some kind of aid. And in the process, they said, our family died. As a mother, you got to leave your child behind, or leave your husband behind, or leave your son behind. These are the tragedies and the challenges people face. What faith they come for service, and they don't forget Allah in all their challenges and all their difficulty. And the final point is, my teams are mixed. Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Jews, mixed. Whilst I was there on that mission, I saw all the injured patients. We went for famine, but it's a war also. All orthopedic injuries in 5 hospitals. I make one call to South Africa, general surgeons, anesthetists, orthopedic surgeons. I said, you guys are on a flight tonight to Mogadishu. I'm sending a private jet to fetch you. 9 of them came. They closed their practices. They took leave from work. Within 3 hours, they got ready. That is commitment. That is dedication across all faiths. They flew to Mogadishu, and in 72 hours, they wiped out every orthopedic case in Somalia, in Mogadishu, to make a difference to the lives of the people. If you do that, doesn't have to be medicine. Whatever you do, if you remember people first, you will always get blessing. It doesn't come in money. It comes in a lot of values that you can't measure. It's not tangible. It's spiritual. It's barakah. It's joy. It's contentment. Excel in varsity. Never forget these principles. I wish the parents all the best for taking care of the children and guiding them and supporting them and spending the money. You guys need to be excellent academically, ethically, religiously, professionally, and above all, serve unconditionally. Jazakallah for the invite. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was an experience. I want boys and girls, young ladies and gentlemen, please go home and take your yearbook and write down in it that we were addressed by one of the most well-known people in the entire world. Dr. Suleiman, I would like to call upon Mr. Ansur to make a presentation to Dr. Suleiman on behalf of the school, in appreciation for his advices that he has given us and for taking the time to accommodate us. Doctor. Jazakallah. I would also like to call upon Dr. Hajra Mutala to present a token of our appreciation to Professor Shahida Qasim. We appreciate her having to rearrange her schedule to be with us today. Thank you so much, Professor. Jazakallah, Professor. It is said that the pride of an institution is in its leadership. And sometimes the pride of the leadership is in the products of the institution. So who can feel more proud today than the executive headmaster of our school, Mr. Ansur? We thank you for having a firm grip on the tiller of our school. Please give him your undivided attention as he delivers his post-release address to you. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, Mr. Khan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's a very hard act to follow, to speak after a luminary like Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman with so much of passion and such a well-known international figure. But let me try, inshallah. In his absence, our we have two guests of honor today, and I want to firstly acknowledge Professor Sheda Qasim, who so graciously consented to be here and to introduce our guest speaker, and also shared some very valuable insights from her experience. Professor Qasim has been associated with our school for over 20 years as a member of the board. I have worked with her very closely, and I know the amount of time and the sacrifices she has made in various subcommittees. And in the last 10 years or so, the academic committee of our school. And we are truly grateful to her for her contributions towards the development of our independent school over the last 25 years. So, Professor Qasim, Jazakallah so much for being here. We really appreciate your presence and for agreeing to say a few words and to introduce Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman. I also want to acknowledge all the members of our board who are here. Of course, the doyen is Professor Salman Nadvi. So Salman Sahib, we're very pleased that you are here. Alhamdulillah. And to all our parents, colleagues, staff members, and especially those staff members who have retired. I'm so pleased that you are joining us this afternoon. So thank you very much for being here. Dear boys and girls, the special guests, that's the matriculants of 2022, we are very proud of your achievements. And I'm not going to go into the details. Professor Qasim has already mentioned this. But the fact is that it is nationally acknowledged that the class of 2022 was the class that characterized the word resilience, which Professor Qasim has spoken about. We don't understand the effects that all those events over the last 3 years have had on all of us. Starting with the pandemic in 2020, the COVID pandemic, with the lockdowns and the enforced absence and closure of schools, and the fact that most of you had to be at home and quickly transitioning to online learning through Google Classroom. And unfortunately, alhamdulillah, we have the capacity in our IT department, our IT manager, Mr. Yusuf Ibrahim, our head of ICT, Mr. Ivan Thompson, and the staff as a whole, who embraced this new technology and made sure that the grade 10s of, that was 2020, had at least ongoing education, some kind of contact with their syllabus and curriculum. Apart from that, you had to deal with a year later, and of course, that brought with it that COVID-19, apart from the illnesses and the fact that we lost so many people during that time, people very close to us, people that we saw in hospital. I know that many of our families in Orient were affected. Our staff member, a few of them have lost either relatives, parents, etc. So it was a very difficult time. Apart from the economic effects of COVID-19 and the lockdowns and the difficulties that parents had to pay fees, for example. And then I must thank the board for coming to their rescue and trying to accommodate them. So these were very difficult times. And then add to that, I think it was, I've lost count now, I think it was July 2021, and you had the unrest and further mayhem. And then, of course, we have the load shedding on top of all of that, which we are still enduring. And through all of that, Alhamdulillah, the class of 2022 have done so well. So we're very proud of you. We congratulate you on your achievements. And, you know, unfortunately, the bar these days is becoming higher and higher and higher. Right? When Hasina Sirat was at school, not too long ago, and Dr. Karwa, Tasneem were here, to get a 92% aggregate in Matric was quite an achievement. 92, 93% was the aggregate that our top learners got. Come 2022, and the top aggregate was 98.2%. The two top learners in the country, our sister school Al-Falah, Alhamdulillah, Husna Hafiji, had an aggregate of 98.2%. It's phenomenal to get 3 subjects with 100% and 4 subjects with 100%. So the bar is getting higher every year. However, despite all of that, as Dr. Suleiman has pointed out, and as Mr. Khan has indicated, these are symbols, these are marks. It's the human beings behind those marks that we are really concerned about. So I just want to quickly put up our statistics. Most of you are aware of this, but Alhamdulillah, we had 91 who wrote, and of them, they all passed. We had 100% pass, Alhamdulillah. And of that, we had 87 bachelor passes, 3 diplomas, and we had 1 incomplete. Unfortunately, she wrote a number of subjects but couldn't write others because of her illness. She will write as her supplementary papers, inshallah. I'm sure she's a bright student and she will pass. Now, very briefly, I want to just contextualize all of this in terms of where we are as a school and where our learners are going to be in terms of competition. In KZN, there were 1,765 matric centers in KZN alone. 1,765 matric centers. Of that number, 12% had a 100% pass rate, and we were one of them, alhamdulillah. So we are in that elite group, and we also have maintained a 100% pass rate for the last 5 years. And in the country, altogether in the country, there are about 200 schools that have achieved this 100% pass rate for the last 5 years, and we want to build on that, inshallah. But just to contextualize this, altogether, 922,000 learners, 922,000 learners sat for this matric examination. And I looked at a statistic, 250,000 applied for places at UKZN. Right? So our 90 learners who want to go to UKZN are among a group of 250,000 candidates. And how many places are they competing for? Altogether, 8,500 places. 250,000 candidates are competing for 8,500 places. So, mashallah, I'm very happy to announce that some of our learners, 2 of them, have been accepted at UKZN in the medical school. And I'm sure all the others who have applied will, inshallah, get their university of choice and the field in which they want to study. And we make dua. But just look at the competition that you are against. It's phenomenal. When I wrote Matric, I won't tell you how long ago, just to get a Matric pass, leave alone exemption, university exemption, to get a Matric pass was a huge achievement. Leave Matric, I recall very clearly, in those days we used to write Standard 6, Grade 8. Mr. Samuels remember this. We used to write Standard 8, that was JC. We used to have PSC, JC, and then Matric. If you pass PSC, that's the primary school certificate, your name was printed in the leader or graphic in those days. Similarly with junior certificate, Standard 8. And those colleagues of mine who were with me at Sastry College, unfortunately I didn't come to Orient, my brother was here. Those who got to Matric and got out with just an ordinary pass, they were like graduates, leave alone those who had university entrance. So what I'm saying is things have changed, have evolved over the years fantastically. I mean, this is something that Professor Kassim has also referred to. I'm using Orient as an example and our community as an example to just give you an indication about how you have to adapt to change. Those of us who grew up in town, I grew up in town, right? I'm a Casbah boy, Carlisle Street. Dr. Suleiman actually is also from there. We understood the environment in Grey Street, the shops in Grey Street. So if a youngster from one of the families that own shops didn't do well at school, he would say, don't worry, I'll do BSc, right? I think all of you know what BSc stands for. That is behind shop counter. He would end up in his parents' shop, BSc. So it didn't bother him because the shops were doing so well. But you go into Grey Street today and look at how many businesses, and I'm talking about families that were well known. Find out how many families still have shops in Grey Street. They have no option but to diversify. And that's the message to our matriculants. To compete in this world, you have to think on your feet, as Dr. Suleiman has pointed out. You have to understand that there are certain skills. All these matric subjects have given you a grounding. But if you don't have those skills of creativity, of being collaborative, of thinking on your feet, of working with people, many of us know about ChatGPT, I'm sure you do, that AI, artificial intelligence, is taking over. And it's not going to be long before what you are being trained for will become obsolete. It will be redundant. I know of many of my friends who are in the medical field, for example, in the field of analytics. What do they call this? Where you have to analyze pathology. Much of the work in pathology, those blood tests, are done by machines. They don't need doctors, in fact, to do the work. The test goes to a machine, the computer generates the result, and that's it. The doctor perhaps just signs it off. Similarly with lawyers. Nowadays, lawyers are becoming redundant because artificial intelligence has taken over. So, in as much as you are preparing for a career, in fact, Professor Kassim will recall 20 years ago we spoke about this. Are we preparing our children for the jobs that are going to exist in the future? Who knows? Who ever dreamt that cell phones would be so huge, that everybody will be walking around with cell phones? Now it's smart watches. Where will it end? So my message to our matriculants, in as much as, inshallah, I'm glad that you have done so well. Many of you have qualified for the university entrance. You will get into faculties of your choice, but please keep your wits about you. Please understand, in this modern world, very often people change careers also. They don't stick to one career. There are lots of career changes that are made. In America, I think the average is 5 or 6 careers in a lifetime. So keep an open mind. I want to end by paying tribute to the parents. Really, I know exactly what bringing your child to this point has taken out of you. I know the endless sacrifices that you have made. Unfortunately, independent school education these days is not cheap. Orient might be considered to be a school where the fees are relatively high. But in the bigger scheme of independent schooling in the country, we are not even in the mid-range, right? The Kurznis and so on have fees that go up to 300,000 Rand a year. How they afford it, Allah knows. But we really appreciate the fact that you have chosen to bring your child to Orient. Understand, I just want to quickly focus on this. The school is a non-profit organization. And the young people who are on our board will understand this. When you do a budget, we try to ensure that our budget just covers our costs. Maybe that's a mistake we made many, many years ago. We ought to have charged some kind of capitation so we would have a capital fund. But our fees barely covers our costs. And so please understand that. So parents, thank you very much for all that you have done for your children, the sacrifices you have made. Over and above the school fees, you also paid for tuition to get the 90% pluses. So my very sincere thanks to you for all your cooperation, to my staff, to us all as a unit, those of you who have retired, who are sitting in front of me, and the fact that you are here speaks volumes for your commitment to the school, to the primary school staff who laid the foundation, and to the Matrics who sacrificed their time, effort. I know Mrs. Singh used to be here on a Saturday, online classes, etc., etc. We really appreciate all the efforts that you have made. May you be richly rewarded for your efforts. And finally, to our students, congratulations, mashallah, you've done very well. I sincerely hope, inshallah, that the words of Dr. Suleiman will ring in your ears. That in as much as you strive to succeed materially, always think about the fact that you are going to be accountable to the Almighty for the service you have given to others. And I mean, he is an excellent example of somebody who is a doctor and gave up his profession to serve humanity. I hope that from among you, inshallah, we will have somebody of that caliber. As he said, he himself is an Orient student. He may not have completed, but he's an Orient student, and we're very proud of him. And we hope, inshallah, we'll keep in touch with you, we'll track your progress. I make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects and guides you and keeps you in his shade, and that the values that you have learnt at the school will remain for you, will remain with you, inshallah, long after you have left the school. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran, Mudir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to the young ladies and gentlemen. It is such a wonderful thing to see all these people who we've almost forgotten their faces, to see them again, back again, smiling. The smile is still there. And this one important thing that I meant to mention in the welcome is that we are looking at a part of 91 people receiving the awards, but we must also remember that the other people played just an important and pivotal role in our school as you have. It's just that you've risen to the top and we've invited you to this function, but you can't come out first in a class if there's no class. You have to have the people. So we appreciate all the other people who are there. We come to the crux, the meat of our function. Now we bring you in front and say Jazakallah to you for your contribution, for your hard work, for whatever you've done and whatever you've achieved. They say for true success, you must ask yourself 4 questions. Why? Why not? Why not me? And why not now? Think about it seriously. So we start with today's presentation. And we are starting off our presentation with official recognition, a certificate in outstanding akhlaq. Now all of us know that akhlaq is one of the fundamental pillars of our vision, that we are developing holistic learners, and in this, we want to we want to give our learners who have outstanding akhlaq, we want to give them these certificates. So the first person we have is Hafiz Bilal Kadr, who is not available today. He has gone to the college in Sidara. So we will give him his certificate later. The next one is Hamza Osman and Anisa Balua. I'm going to ask Mulana Hansa to make this presentation. Mulana Hansa, make this presentation for us, please. Hamza Osman not here. Now for our distinction awards. These are not the only 3 people who have outstanding akhlaq. We have other people who have also been highlighted here, but they will receive their certificates in the rest of, as a joint presentation. We will give it to them a little later on. For Muhammad Hassan Muhammadi, distinction in mathematics literacy, I will call upon Mr. C.J. Gavin to make this presentation. That's my old friend. Muhammad Uzair Jabbar for distinction in mathematical literacy. Please hold on, Mr. Gavin. Do all of these presentations for us, please. Hamza Ibrahim Umar, also for distinction in mathematical literacy. Aisha Sheikh for distinction in Afrikaans. Thank you, Mr. Gavin. I call upon Mrs. P. Singh, our ex-Afrikaans educator at the school, to make these presentations. Masiullah Mansoor for distinction in accounting. Makil Haq for distinction in mathematical literacy. Sahibzada Muhammad Hamid for distinction in information technology. He obtained highest mark in Orient School, joint highest mark. He also obtained the AMS joint highest mark for information technology. AMS, as you all know, is the Association of Muslim Schools. Muhammad Akunji for his distinction in mathematical literacy and in accounting. Thank you, Mrs. Singh. I call upon Mrs. Z. Mudli, also ex-Afrikaans educator at our school. The presentation to Muhammad Duma for distinction in business studies. Muhammad Duma is not here. Yusuf Hussein Mohammadi for distinction in accounting. Also not here. Mohsin Yusuf Khatri for distinction in mathematical literacy and life orientation. Akil Abdullah for distinction in mathematical literacy. Akil is not here. Jazakallah, Mrs. Mudli. I call upon Mrs. K. Isa. Hassan Abdul Razak for distinction in mathematical literacy. Hassan Abdul Razak. Not here. His father will collect it on his behalf. Jazakallah. Muhammad Yusuf Badat for distinction in mathematical literacy, life orientation. Also a special presentation for his outstanding akhlaq. MashaAllah, Yusuf. Jamil Saib, distinction in mathematical literacy, life orientation, and business studies. Shakil Abdullah Ibrahim for distinction in life orientation and for a certificate of full attendance. MashaAllah. In addition to that, we also give him a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. Thanks a lot, Mrs. Isa. And I now call upon Mrs. R.D. Nadesan. There's a familiar name. Ma'am will do us the honors for the following. Samira Bawan Ali for a distinction in Afrikaans, life orientation, and accounting. MashaAllah, Samira. Muhammad Muawiyah Ahmad for distinction in mathematical literacy. Alia Muhammad for a distinction in life orientation. Suhail Salim Patel for distinctions in life orientation and accounting. Thank you so much, ma'am. I call upon Dr. Tasneem Karwa. Ma'am, can I call upon you, Mrs. Isa, to make these presentations for us, please, if you don't mind? Ibrahim Ismail, information technology distinction. Also a joint highest mark for IT in Orient Islamic School. At AMS level, he has got the joint highest mark as well. MashaAllah, Ibrahim. Samiha Siddiq for distinction in Afrikaans and life orientation. Laika Shab Ali for distinctions in Afrikaans, life orientation, and geography. She also receives a certificate for distinction for outstanding akhlaq. Yusuf Mal, distinction in mathematical literacy, life orientation, economics, as well as certificate for outstanding akhlaq. MashaAllah. Jazakallah, Mrs. Isa. I call upon Mrs. N. Dowd to make the following presentations. Mrs. Dowd is here. Khatija Ahmad for distinctions in Afrikaans and accounting. Muhammad Karodia for distinction in accounting as well as a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. Not here. Alia Badat for distinction in life orientation and business studies. Jazakallah, ma'am. I now call upon Mrs. Y. Naika to make these presentations for us. Muhammad Hassan Abu Tahir Qazi for distinctions in mathematical literacy and business studies, as well as obtaining the joint third highest mark in mathematical literacy. Muhammad Al-Tamish Abdul Samad for distinction in life orientation. Junaid Qasim for distinction in life orientation and accounting, as well as a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. MashaAllah, Junaid. Jazakallah. Thanks a lot, ma'am. I call upon Mr. H. Bobat to make these presentations. Mr. Bobat. The first one is Muhammad Ibrahim Saeed for distinctions in Afrikaans and life orientation. Zahra Abbas Umar for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, life orientation, and accounting. Adil Junaid Mullah for distinctions in life orientation, EGD, for obtaining the highest mark in Orient School for EGD as well. Manhab Jawed for distinction in accounting and economics. Thank you, Mr. Bobat. I call upon Mr. M.I. Sheikh to make these presentations for us. Fatima Ibrahim Ahmed for distinctions in life orientation, business studies, and EGD. MashaAllah, Fatima. Adil Muhammad Sidat, there's 12.2. Adil Muhammad. For distinction in life orientation, accounting, and physical science. Muhammad Danish Salat for distinction in Afrikaans, life orientation, and accounting. Ibrahim Raja, the gold scorer, for distinction in English, Afrikaans, and life orientation. Jazakallah, Mr. Sheikh. I call upon Mr. Thompson, Mr. I. Thompson, to make the following presentations. Abdullah Muhammad Vauda for distinction in Afrikaans. Muhammad Asmal for distinction in Afrikaans, life orientation, IT, Orient joint highest mark, as well as physical science. He also obtained Association of Muslim Schools joint highest mark as well. MashaAllah, Muhammad. These learners that I'm calling out now have achieved a distinction aggregate. They have also achieved a distinction aggregate. We start off with Muhammad Arif Isa for distinctions in Afrikaans, mathematics, and accounting, as well as a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. A distinction aggregate, Muhammad Arif. Shamila Qadir for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, and a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. Jazakallah, Mr. Thompson. I call upon Professor S. Nadvi to help us with these presentations, please. Professor. Bilal Motala for distinctions in life orientation, accounting, business studies, economics, as well as outstanding akhlaq. I'm sure I saw his father in the hall. Mr. Mutala, won't you take it on his behalf? Not here, okay. Arifa Badat for distinctions in Afrikaans, life orientation, accounting, and life sciences. Muhammad Ismail Ahmad for distinctions in English, life orientation, accounting, as well as outstanding akhlaq award certificate, distinction aggregate as well. Mikael Abdullah for distinctions in Afrikaans, life orientation, accounting, business studies, life sciences. What a wonderful, lovely result, Mikael. And a second certificate for outstanding akhlaq as well. And a distinction aggregate. MashaAllah. Mohammed Hassam has gone to Cape Town, so I'm going to ask Adil Sidat to accept on his behalf. Adil. He has achieved distinctions in mathematics, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, and physical science, and a distinction aggregate. Jazakallah, Professor. Thank you, Professor. I call upon Hasina Sidat to make presentations for us, please. Hasina. Yasin Juma for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, life orientation, geography, where he obtained a joint Orient highest mark, life sciences, as well as outstanding akhlaq, and a distinction aggregate. Muhammad Yusuf Suleiman, our head man, for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, as well as a outstanding akhlaq certificate. Ramina Dil Hussain, distinctions in English, Afrikaans, life orientation, life sciences, economics, and a distinction aggregate. Jazakallah, Mrs. Hasina Sidat. We come to the top 10 aggregates. I call upon Professor Shahida Qasim to help us with these presentations, please. The first one is Azra Osman for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, geography, where she obtains the Orient joint highest mark, life sciences, physical science, as well as the joint 10th position, in aggregate 10th position in Orient Islamic School, as well as distinction aggregate. Naila Isa for distinctions in Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, physical science, and Orient joint 10th position as well. Asma Jan for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, Orient joint highest mark, physical sciences, 9th position in Orient, as well as 26th position in AMS. What a wonderful result, Asma. Keep it up. Dasmia Muhammad, distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, physical sciences, 8th position at Orient, and 23rd position in the AMS ratings, and a distinction aggregate as well. Thank you, Professor. Professor Shaida, thank you so much. I call upon Dr. Hajra Mutala to help us with these presentations, please. Husna Rawat, who is not with us today, she has gone to Dubai to pursue a BCom degree. So we call upon her mother to accept this awards on her behalf. Husna Rawat for distinctions in English, mathematical literacy, Orient highest mark in maths literacy, life orientation, accounting, business studies, economics, Orient 7th position, AMS joint 17th position, AMS highest mark for mathematical literacy, AMS joint 2nd highest mark, and a distinction aggregate. Next one is Farhan Muhammad for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, highest mark in Orient for business studies, highest mark in Orient for economics, 6th position in at Orient, 16th position in the AMS ratings, AMS highest mark for business studies and economics. Oh. Farhan, is there anything you didn't get? What a lovely result. Yusuf Sadar. His mother is available. Thank you, Mr. Sadar. Distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, life sciences, physical science, as well as a distinction aggregate. Fatima Sidat, who is not well today, so we're going to ask her sister Mariam to accept these awards on her behalf. Mariam. She's got distinctions in Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, Orient joint highest mark in accounting, life sciences, physical sciences, advanced program mathematics, Orient 4th position, the AMS 13th position, AMS 3rd highest mark in mathematics, AMS joint 2nd highest mark for accounting, as well as a certificate for outstanding akhlaq. What a wonderful result, Tima Sidat. Thank you, Dr. Hajra. I will now call upon Mr. Ansur for these presentations here. The first one, I need to take a deep breath now. It can take a lot of reading. Leila Tar for distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life orientation, accounting, the joint highest mark for in Orient, life sciences, physical sciences, Orient 3rd position in Orient, 12th position at AMS, and 2nd highest mark in accounting at AMS as well, and a distinction aggregate. Now we come to Ilyas Suleiman. Mr. Suleiman has got distinctions in English, Afrikaans, mathematics, life sciences, highest mark in life sciences, accounting, Orient joint highest mark, business studies, economics, 2nd position at Orient, 5th position in the AMS overall, joint 2nd highest mark for accounting, business studies, and a certificate for akhlaq. I don't think we need any more, Ilyas. And our last, for Ilyas, we're coming to him. And a special award from PwC. We'll come to that a little later on. Then we come to Husna Ola. For distinctions in English, Orient highest mark. Afrikaans, Orient highest mark. Mathematics, Orient highest mark. Life orientation, accounting, Life Sciences. Orient joint highest mark for life sciences. Physical Sciences. Orient highest mark. Orient first position. AMS second position. AMS joint highest mark for Afrikaans and AMS second highest mark for English and for mathematics, Husna Ola, and a distinction aggregate as well. Thank you, Mr. Ansur. You've got good transportation, Husna, because you're going to need it. Fill the hall up with the awards. We come to the special awards. Special awards, starting off with the S.A.R. Ibrahim Award for outstanding performance in accounting and mathematics goes to Husna Ola. And I will call upon Mr. Yusuf Karwa to make these presentations on our behalf. Not here, huh? Mr. H. Bobat will do these presentations for us. The PwC Shield for outstanding performance in economics goes to Farhan Mohammed, and a cash award from PwC of 1,500 Rand. Mr. Bobat will be proud to present these three people who have obtained a staggering 99% in the senior certificate examination for accounting. Each of them receives a cash award of 750 Rand from PwC. Ilyas Suleiman, Leila Tar, and Fatima Sidat. Mariam, please come forward. Is Mariam not here? Floating. Jazakallah, Mr. Bobat. I also call upon Mrs. Hasina Sidat again to help us with these presentations. The Yaqub E. Patel Award for Excellence in Mathematics. Marhum Yaqub, as we all know, was an ex-educator at our school, a very keen mathematician, dedicated to school, giving long hours to students in our school, and his award for excellence in mathematics goes to Husna Ola. Sorry, Mrs. Sidat, Hasina Sidat, I'll ask you for one more, please. A.K. Adam Memorial Award for outstanding performance in mathematics. Mr. Adam is an ex-educator at Orient, and he gives this award for the second highest mark. It goes to Fatima Sidat. Thank you, Mrs. Sidat. I call upon Dr. K.G. Samuel. She's going to make a presentation on behalf of Brian and Geeta Samuel. This is called the Brian and Geeta Samuel Award for outstanding performance in physical sciences. Brian and Geeta were both educators, and their son was a learner at Orient Islamic School. They were very impressed with the type of education he was receiving and decided to give this award. So Mrs. Dr. K.G. Samuel will present this award to Husna Ola. I call upon Mrs. F.B. Ismail. Mrs. F.B. Ismail is here. Can Ms. J. Desai do this honor for us, please? Easy Computer Shield for the highest mark in information technology goes to Muhammad Asmal, Ibrahim Ismail, and Shahibzada Muhammad Hamid. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. While we celebrate outstanding achievements at school, we also like to motivate other learners. So in that regard, the T.A. Dada Family Trust Award goes to the most improved learner. I will call upon Mrs. Shirin Dada. She had her children at our school. Mrs. Shirin Dada, representative of the T.A. Dada Family Trust, is making this presentation to Muhammad Hassan Muhammadi. I call upon Mrs. R. Kassam. Is Mrs. Kassam available? She will make a presentation for the Ridwan Lahe Memorial Trophy for outstanding community work. This trophy has been sponsored by the Orient Old Boys Club and who are a group of dedicated ex-learners, alumni, who actively involved in community work, hamper distributions and so on, and especially with the Blackburn community situated outside Phoenix. Mrs. R. Asmal will make this presentation to Tasmia Muhammad for outstanding community work. Sorry, ma'am. This is R. Kassam. Jazakallah, ma'am. Mr. Ahmad Day. Can I call upon you, please, to make this presentation? Muhammad Bai Day Memorial Award is for exceptional service to the school. Marhum Bai Day was committed to the affairs of the school. He had visible influence in our school, and he also contributed to the Darul Yatama Trust. Also a board member at the school. This award for exceptional service to the school goes to Muhammad Yusuf Suleiman. Jazakallah, Mr. Day. The Ahmad Khalil Raja Award will be presented by Professor S. Nadvi. Mr. Ahmad Khalil Raja was a student at Orient, who's a good friend of Advocate Musa, who is the chairman of our board. Ahmad K. Raja will be remembered for his humility, for his compassion, and his dedication. This award goes to Leila Tar. Jazakallah, Professor. I'll call upon Mrs. G. Hanif to make this presentation for us. This award is known as the Ismail Asmal Award, ex-educator of Orient School, well known as Basta Asmal, and he gives it for the outstanding performance in English, and that award goes to Husna Ola. I'd like to call upon Mrs. R. Asmal in the English department to make this presentation for us. This is the Ahmad Akbar Memorial Shield for outstanding performance in public speaking. and it goes to Husna Ola. Also sponsored by Advocate Musa, in fond memory of his teacher and friend who passed away in 2019, Ahmad Akbar. Maulana Hansa, I call upon you again to make another presentation for us, please. This is the Abdul Majid Khan Floating Trophy for Outstanding Achievement in Islamiyat. The Abdul Majid Khan Floating Trophy goes to Arifa Badat, Junaid Qasim, and Ilyas Suleiman. Please hold on, Maulana. Make one more presentation for us, please. The Muhammad A.Y. Mullah Trophy, Akhlaq Award in recognition of good character goes to Bilal Mutala and Asma Jan. We come now to the Dr. Ismail Katrada Award, Proxime Assesset 2021. It's 22. This will be presented for us by Mr. Ahmad Day. And the recipient is Ilyas Suleiman. The Ismail and Fatima Katrada Trust, they have made this presentation, and Dr. Katrada was a long-standing chairman of the Orient Institute. And lastly, we come to the last award of all. I'm going to call upon the Dux awardee for 1986 is Muhammad Rishad Ola. I'd like him to come up and make this presentation for us. A 1986 Dux awardee. And he's going to make the E.M. Randery Shield Dux Award to his daughter, Husna Ola. Mr. Ola, we'll appreciate it if you can give us a few words. In fact, come give us a few words. And that brings us to the end of our special awards. I'm going to hand over the rest of the ceremony to Mrs. Jagot, who will deliver the vote of thanks. I'm sorry, there's one more addition to the program. I'm going to call upon Dr. Hajra Mutala, who's going to give us a short address, and she's the chairman of the academic committee of the Board of Governors of Orient Islamic School, Dr. Hajra Mutala.
Assalamu alaikum. Adversities and challenges can break some, and yet others break records. Our class of 2022 stands testament to this. They've transformed their stumbling blocks into steps of success for the future. And I think our educators need to be commended for this. As Mr. Ansur mentioned earlier, they had unprecedented challenges from the onset of COVID to the lockdown restrictions, online platform, which was far too many, the load shedding, the riots. And despite these challenges, we obtained a 100% pass rate, which is phenomenal, and a 97% bachelor's degree, which is a 5% increase from the previous year. They say that teachers and educators are the only ones that lose sleep over other people's children. So on behalf of the board, we would like to commend the Matric educators for their efforts, for their sacrifices, the early morning lessons, the late night, evening online classes, sacrificing Saturdays from their family time. I think we need to commend you for your tireless dedication, your compassion, your hard work. And to the class of 2022, the resilient class of 2022, we are immensely proud of you. Thank you.
Shukran, Doctor. I'm going to hand over the rest of the proceedings to Mrs. Jagot, who will give you the vote of thanks and do the subsequent dismissal of the learners. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a warm good afternoon to our honored guest speaker, Mr. Imtiaz Suleiman, who's left already, our special guest, Mrs. R.D. Nadesan, our ex-principal of the high school, our retired matric teachers of 2022 who are here with us today, our sponsors of the various awards and our well-wishers, members of the Board of Governors, our executive headmaster, Mr. Ansur, the senior management team, our dear teachers, parents, and beloved learners. There have been many thank yous throughout this session this afternoon, but this is the formal one, okay? I want to start with a quote because it is believed across many faiths and many cultures, and I quote, that no duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. So I'm delighted on behalf of the Orient Islamic School to have been given the pleasant duty of delivering the vote of thanks this afternoon. I begin by extending my most humble and sincere thanks to Allah Ta'ala, our Supreme Being and Creator, for His blessings and grace in making this event possible. Peace and salutations upon our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his family and his companions. Mr. Suleiman has left us, but I want to express, on behalf of Orient Islamic School, a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Suleiman, who spared time from his busy schedule to grace this occasion today. Today, we heard his thoughts and his advice to our awardees, and of course, this will surely encourage and inspire them to meet the challenges that they would no doubt encounter in the future. Mr. Suleiman's views that a person's true success should be measured by his or her ability to have compassion and humility for his fellow mankind is something that we really need to take into account. We are really grateful to Mr. Suleiman for sharing his experiences and his life lessons with us today. We thank the members of the Board of Governors for gracing this function and for your time, for your support, and for your dedication to the school. A special thank you to Professor Sheda Kassim for her words of advice and address to our learners today as well. Some of our awards have been sponsored by well-wishers and families of past Board of Governor members. We wish to thank the representatives of these sponsors who are here today and who have presented these awards to our successful candidates. Mrs. Nadesan and our retired educators, Mrs. K. Isa, Mr. Gavin, Mrs. Singh, and Mrs. Mudli, we are absolutely delighted that you are here with us to celebrate the achievements of our matric learners. Thank you for your attendance today. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks from now. It requires meticulous planning and a bird's eye for detail. We are fortunate to be backed by a team of very proactive and dedicated educators who have made up the NSC Awards Committee. They are Mrs. F. Kasimji, Mr. H. Bobat, Mrs. S. Mutala, Mrs. F. B. Ismail, Mrs. R. Kasim, Mrs. G. Hanif, and Mrs. R.S. Asmal. We thank this committee for attending to every detail regarding this special event and ensuring its success. A special thank you to our academic head, Ms. J. Desai, for steering the NSC Awards Committee and for the sterling manner in which she managed the NSC examinations at the end of 2022. With her expert guidance and supervision, the examinations were flawlessly executed. I would also like to thank our technical support team headed by Mr. Yusuf Ibrahim, our finance and administrative staff, our media consultant, Mr. Vali, and our estates and housekeeping staff headed by Mr. Rahim Khan. Our sincere gratitude goes to all parents and well-wishers for your rock-solid support and encouragement to your children and to Orient Islamic School. Without your support, our young stars would not have been able to achieve the excellence they have. Orient Islamic School salutes your investment in your children, and you should be proud of their achievements as we are too. To our dear and beloved Matric achievers, this is truly a great day for you because today we recognized your years of effort and hard work, which has resulted in such impressive performances. Your results have also affirmed the efforts of your dedicated educators and the goal of Orient Islamic School to be a school of excellence. Our du'as will always be with you. In conclusion, I thank each and every one of you for gracing this event and contributing to its success. I wish you all a safe journey home. To conclude today's event, I call on Zidane Sidiot, a grade 12 learner, to render the closing dua, after which we invite all of you to partake in the refreshments provided at the side of the hall. Assalamu alaikum.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معدي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد وهو على كل شيء قدير. لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه، له النعمة وله الفضل وله الثناء الحسن. لا إله إلا الله مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله.